Middlesbrough have signed David Strelec from Slovan Bratislava for 6.5 million on a 5-year deal. The Slovakian has just scored and assisted in a 2-0 win over Germany, and we're here to talk about him. Dan, this has been 12 months in the making. What are your thoughts on David Strelec?
Really excited, first and foremost. I think we've been doing lowdowns for 3 or 4 years now, and this is probably the most excited I've been to record one. I just like what David Strelec can offer Middlesbrough, and I think that Middlesbrough fans are understandably excited about him. If we delve into his game a little bit, I wouldn't say he's an out-and-out number 9. There's more to his game than that. I would probably profile him as a playmaking goal scorer, if that even makes sense. He possesses really good technical qualities which show up with his first touch, close control and footwork, and comfort with both feet in shooting and passing. All of these attributes make him a really diverse attacking player. He can score, but he also links up really well with the players around him. At times, he shows some very impressive vision and passing, which fits into him being a very good link-up forward. I wouldn't say he's necessarily great in the air when the ball is played up the pitch, though. I have noticed he doesn't jump with a lot of conviction. He is much better in the box mind when he's closer to goal. I also appreciate his movement on approach to or within the box. When Slovan Bratislava were moving the ball up the pitch, he would often make forward runs off the blind side of the defender just to be able to enable that ball played in behind to stretch the play. Within the box, he really excels. Near post finishes, far post finishes, right foot, left foot with his head. Of his 102 career goals, the majority of them, 63 in fact, have been scored with his stronger left foot, but he is also competent with his right foot too. He actually had the best goal conversion percentage among strikers in the Nike Liga last season, 31.7%. 20 goals from 63 shots according to Y-Scout. The next best is on 23%, just for context. He's also coming off the back of some very good seasons for Slovan Bratislava, 14 goals, 11 assists in 41 appearances in 23-24, then 25 goals and 8 assists last season, and the start of this season, 5 goals, 1 assist in 9 appearances. He's very much a player on the up.
Yeah, Dana, and I would agree as well. I think he's an excellent signing for us, especially with the fee that we've paid and the ordeal to bring him here, to actually bring him to the club. It's definitely worth the wait, I would say. He's a player who, if you give constant early supply and support, he's someone, from the 10s and the right wing back, we could have a good striker on our hands as well. And for me, when I was looking into him as well, I there's a lot of things that I agree with in terms of like the aerial consistency being a bit of a weakness. I don't think he's much more of a build-up player. I can see him more as a finisher, and I can see that's where most of his goal comes from, where he's running towards that front post. And it's something I want to pick up on a little bit later on around Callum Britton and how he's able to whip that ball at the box and get him in that front post too. In terms of creative output as well, I think, you said that he's a very creative player and also a finisher. I think he leans definitely more towards that finisher. For me, he's a penalty box player who can be really efficient in there. He's got good finishing versatility in terms of where he places his shots. Definitely on that first time finish, the cutbacks as well. He's dangerous from crosses, so that's something where we all look at. But then additionally to that as well, what I really like about strikers sometimes, how do they fare up 1v1? And I think David Strelec does this really, really well. I think it's a really good strength of his. He can beat his man, get his shot away, and keeps the ball under pressure as well. In terms of where he fits in, and now look, there's so much we can probably delve into in terms of where do we think he's going to play? Is he going to be in front of Conway? Is he going to play as a 10? He can definitely play both, but for me, primary wise, I would say he's a number 9 for me. He's someone who will link up very well with the 10s and needs to link up with the 10s to actually make him a success. And then additionally to that, he can play with that right-sided 10 approach, but he has to probably get himself to come into that midfield, be nice and tight with the midfielders, or if the centre-back's trying to play around, he has to be someone's going to be really near him to make sure that we make it a success as well. So overall, I think this is a great signing for us, to be honest. I would love to see him, and this is definitely a question that I could see. What do I want to see from him, and also what would I like to see from Edwards in the near future? how would it look like in a very fluid front three in terms of Sene, Strelec, and Conway as a potential? How would that look, even with Nipan as well? And also, his success, will it be defined by Callum Britton, or will it be defined by our 10s, or will it be defined by him? And I think that's a really open-ended question, because how much service is he going to get? Because Middlesbrough's, I would say, numbers have dipped a little bit in terms of career output like the first few games. So I'm intrigued to see how this develops over a big period of time, to be honest. So can you see why Middlesbrough have watched him for over 12 months and been desperate to bring him here?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think he's got a touch of class that, to be honest, will probably make me think, wait, do we actually miss Finn Azaz? Because I think what he brings us, and I kind of disagree with you slightly. I do agree that he's very good in the box, but I think because there's a lot to his game, he's got a lot of weapons in his armory. I think, and you've put it actually in your notes, 9.5. He's that kind of hybrid between a poacher, but also somebody that I think in the final phase of the build-up is pretty good at just being able to connect the player and maybe, drop a little bit deeper, link up with one of the wingers, or in our case, the wing backs, and then we get back into the box and make that near post or far post run just to finish. I can completely understand why Boro wanted him. And I think it's also interesting to note that, at least if you read Dom Shaw's article in the Northern Echo, Strelec was desperate to come to Middlesbrough as well. That was the word that was used. And importantly, what was also mentioned in that article, it was understood that he's done his homework on the Championship. I really like hearing that. I really do. A player that studies the league that he's in, the opposition that he faces, the defenders that he could come up against. I think that level of attention to detail is really good. We heard it with Chuba when Chuba was at Middlesbrough. I think he might have had his own analyst, and he watched games and he clocked the deficiencies or the potential weak areas of the defenders and the teams that he was coming up against. That's good. On the other hand, Kali Sen, I watched his interview and he said he doesn't watch football. So, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that a player is going to be a success or a failure, but it's nice to know that Strelec is prepared almost for the Championship. I mean, this is a player that's played 17 times in the Champions League qualifying stage, 6 goals, 4 assists. He's made 8 Champions League appearances, including against Bayern and Atletico Madrid. He's played in the Europa qualifying plus the Conference League. He's played and scored against England in the Euros, and he obviously just a few days ago scored and assisted against Germany, and he absolutely twisted Antonio Rudiger, Real Madrid's Antonio Rudiger, inside out with a really good finish. And to be honest, you see that a little bit with his game. He attacks that right hand channel and then he just buys himself a half a yard and he cuts in. Well, he doesn't cut inside, but he uses that left foot. I'd like to hope he's not using his left hand, that left foot, just to wrap his foot around it and get it into the top corner. Yeah, he's a very good player, and he's coming from a team in Slovan Bratislava that know how to win trophies as well. So I can see him. He's obviously taken a step back in terms of European competition. He won't be playing in the Champions League qualifying stages with the Boro, maybe on career mode on FIFA. But I think the lure for David Strelec is to get into the Premier League, isn't it? And hopefully he can help us get there. I mean, his surname means shooter in Slovak, so yeah, fingers crossed he's Boro's shooter and shoots us up to the Premier League.
100%, 100%. And the last time we spoke about a 9.5 was Chuba. So it's nice to reflect back on that type of player who can connect the player and get Middlesbrough playing. I am probably more so on that offensive. I think he's more a finisher, but yeah, I can definitely see how he can connect and add a lot more. But look, in terms of how he's going to fit this system and where the goal's going to come from. And also, additionally to that as well, I mentioned a little bit around Callum Britton and looking back at what Michael Carrick's reign was like and how a wing back can really be effective for these type of strikers. I think Callum Britton is perfect for this. His low balls and low balls early into the box and Strelec to make that run across goal into the box, just in front of the front post to get a strike away. I think it's something we'll see quite consistently over the next few weeks, and also with target as well. How is that going to work as well with that centre forward? And it's just making sure he can really train that cue, and it's when either Britain or Target make that first touch, he's making that sprint into the channel to make sure that he makes that run and gets himself into good positions as well. I also think additionally to that as well, it's probably the third man runs of Hansen, Nipan, and McGree when he's fitting Whitaker, just so he knows when to drop, and then also when he needs to connect the play as well. So when he does drop in from that 9 position, he can play it to the 10 and spin off him and get into a really good position, because I think that's where the best work of Strelec will happen, when he gets into that space and behind the defenders and opens his body up, like we seen against Germany the other day, and how he opens his body up and gets that strike away as well. And then additionally to that as well, probably cut back finishes is going to be something that's going to be really key for him too, because I think with the 10s that we have right now and how the wing backs are wanting to play, these are players that are and how even Rob Edwards wants to play. It's all vertical and trying to get into certain areas of the pitch. If they are able to get into the box just before that front post, the cutback for Strelec, his position's very good. He's able to get his strike away, and his conversion rate in front of goal is fairly strong, isn't it? So I think that we've got a really good player on hands who can be fairly strong in the box. In terms of off the ball stuff, look, with a striker, it's you always give them the benefit of the doubt, don't you? You think, oh well, they're going to press and they're not going to press. I think for me, we have a bit of work to do, I would say there. But it's not the worst thing in the world, to be honest, because the way that Mills will press right now is we're going that counter press. It's just knowing and giving him that trigger. And as soon as you give him that right trigger, he'll be absolutely fine in terms of doing that, to be honest. So for me, in terms of his best position, centre forward in that 3-4-2-1. He can play on that right-hand side if we want him to. But for us both, we've both said 9.5 type player, and someone who can really thrive on good early service, and someone who can really connect the dots if we need them to be. So we're going to come to the part of the show, D, where we've been burnt in the past. We've been absolutely
You've been burnt.
I've been
Never mind where you've been burnt.
And to be fair, it's torn down my expectations. But I mean, if you look at my Malanda video, I was very excited by that one. I think I'd give it a 4.5 or 5 or 5. I think I was very excited by it. I think Boro fans will be, because I think it nullifies a weakness that hasn't been exposed yet in Boro's armory defensively. But I can come to that in another video. But what would you give David Strelec then out of 5 for this signing?
Well, I don't think I'll ever give a Boro signing 5 out of 5 after you gave Lucas Engel a 5 out of 5. Thank you for taking that, Jonny, and being an example of what not to do. But yeah, I'd give him a 4 or a 4.5. I think I would really like to see an attacking trio of Conway and then Strelec and actually Nipan behind. Yeah, I think Nipan's a good hybrid of an 8 and a 10, and he can connect the midfield along with Hayden Hackney, of course, to the strike force. And then I suspect that Strelec's best position for Boro would be just behind Conway, but it's good to have those options, Dawn, isn't it? I wouldn't even say it's a weakness, but it's just a point of intrigue anyway, is Strelec's, like all of Strelec's good seasons have been with one club, Slovan Bratislava. How will he fare outside of Slovakia? Because he had a move to Spezia actually in 2021, age 20. So maybe he took that move a little bit too soon within his career. He rejoined Slovan in 2023, initially on loan. So maybe you could just strike that spell in Italy as too soon a move for him. Too young in his career potentially, but it's still going to be interesting how he fares in a different league. And that's why as well, I think it's good that he's done his homework on the Championship. Yeah, I would give it a 4.5. I just think the array of talents and attributes that he has makes him very adept in this team specifically, I think, because even though we've obviously experienced a change in manager, and you mentioned, or you at least referred to, maybe a dip in creativity, this is still a side that have players that lean more technically than being just brute shithouses and being lump up the pitch. Let's throw it back to the days of AFC Wimbledon. And I think that Strelec complements that. And I think he just diversifies Boro's attack a little bit and adds that touch of class. So I would Yeah, I'm really excited to see him. I hope, because I'm going to Preston away, that he plays there. But I would go with a 4.5. Really good pedigree, really talented footballer, complements this side. Young, 5-year contract. Yeah, time's on his side to adapt. And I think that I hope and I believe that he will be a good signing for us.
And I agree. I really agree with that. We've got him at a good time, I would say, is probably one of the big takeouts of it all, because that I agree with you on that move to Spezia. I think that was far too soon. And additionally to that as well, his development over the last 12 months is drastic. He's really kicked on, and that's what you want. You know, when we had like Elath, you could see that he was slowly getting there, and then we got him on a really good moment, and we've seen that development, and then we've got him now probably about 12 months ahead of what Lath was, I would say, in terms of development. And he's a player who can excite a lot of people to do that. So I'm very excited to see what he does. You know, he's going to need time. He's going to need room for growth and getting used to everything. And yes, he might have a really good start, but I still think he has that streakiness in him, like all strikers do, especially the people that we've brought over. But he's a green light for the role, especially of how we want to play with Rob Edwards. You know, if we can give him the supply and we can give him some support with the 10s and the right wing back or the left wing back, the full back's been really key to this. How interesting we used to say that about Matt Carrick, and I was saying the same thing about Rob Edwards. But for me, yeah, he can and should be seen as a 15 to 20 goal striker in the future if he has the service with him, because he's shown time and time again over the last 12 months that he knows how to finish, he knows where to be in the box, and also we can really use him as a good endpoint as well. So overall for me, yeah, I'll give him a 4.5 as well, Dana, because I think he's a relatively exciting prospect who I would love to see develop over the next few years. But Dee, thank you very much for joining me as always. To the listeners and viewers, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the Boro Breakdown. Help us get found, charted, and all that kind of fun stuff. And let us know what you think of David Strelec in the comments below. But this has been the lowdown on Big Dave. But that was all your Boro Matchday chatter in the pod. Up the Boro.